is Dancing with the Stars' 6-time mirror ball champion. Not since the days of Astaire and Gene Kelly has a ballroom dancer had so much star power in Hollywood. In fact, Derek Hough's dazzling moves on the dance floor have not only made ballroom cool for a new generation, it's catapulted him to one star turn after the other, including his own show now on the Vegas Strip, aptly called No Limit. He makes it all look easy. But it was anything but. As Hough will tell you, he was brutally bullied as a child. In his best-selling book, Taking the Lead, Lessons from a Life in Motion, he writes how he was able to heal his past, find real intimacy in love, and enjoy real fulfillment on and off the dance floor. Redefining the true meaning of success. Emmy award-winning choreographer, champion dancer, musician, actor Derek Hough. He is today's LA Story. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of LA Stories. I'm Giselle Fernandez, and we are coming to you from Industry Dance Studios in Sherman Oaks with the amazing Derek Hough. It's so great to see you.
Wonderful seeing you. Thanks for having me.
This is an iconic dance studio. This is where a lot of your magic happened, right?
Yes, I've actually rehearsed in this particular studio many times, choreographing for Dancing with the Stars. And then the Paso Doble, it won an Emmy. Yeah, this was the room.
This is where the sausage is made.
Yeah.
So a Vegas residency, I know it was postponed because of the pandemic. How does it feel to be back?
As a kid, I would go there all the time, walk down the strip, you know, look at all the shows and the signs and think, man, I wonder what it would be like maybe if I had a show here one day. Who knows?
To have your name in lights on the strip.
Yeah, you know, and here we are. It's really wild to think about where dance has taken me in my life. To have your own show was relatively unique.
No, I think you ushered in with Dancing with the Stars a whole new era where dance became cool and part of the zeitgeist. You made it part of pop culture as opposed to, oh, guys dancing. I mean, did you ever feel that way, that, you know, boys don't dance?
Growing up, for sure. I grew up in Utah, and certain schools I went to, they didn't necessarily understand that, you know, like, you're a dancer? Like, that's not what guys do. But my teacher, Rick Robinson, he was the man who brought me into dance. He was the man who made dance cool. Was a mentor, not just in dance, but in life, and taught me like a lot of life lessons.
You can learn a lot in the practice and the daily discipline of dancing about how to live life, can't you?
I often say that like motion equals emotion. The way you move your body directly affects the way you feel, and we start to understand things about ourselves, and that's one of my favorite things about being on Dancing with the Stars, was unleashing that in my partners. One of my favorite partners was Amy Purdy. You know, she had 2 prosthetic legs, and I'll never forget, as long as I live, we were rehearsing, and she sat on this stool, and she started to cry, and I'm like, oh no, I've been too hard on her. I said something, and I said, are you okay? And she said, no, like, this is the first time I've felt feminine since I lost my legs. I feel like a woman. And I was like, wow, to be able to be in the room for that and to witness that moment, and to be a part of, you know, her, you know, reclaiming that part of herself was really special.
Yeah, you really have to tap into something and then you have to let go, don't you?
When people always say to me, oh, I'm not a dancer, I don't dance. And I was like, well, when did you decide that? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, surely you must have danced when you were a kid, right? Like when you put some music on and you're like bobbing your head and you're just kind of moving around. And then at some point, somebody said, don't do that, or you got embarrassed, and then you just stopped. We all move, we all dance, you know, all different cultures, they all have their like rituals. Dancing and moving has always been ingrained into the human experience. I think that's when people see people dance, they can feel connected to it in some way. When they experience that feeling, they experience that like that release, just letting go. I call it Olé. It's like Olé. It's
the aha moment.
It's like that Olé, you know. Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Are you surprised by your success and what happened to you at Dancing with the Stars?
Very much so. I think my goal growing up being a dancer was to become the world champion, you know, in ballroom and Latin dancing. That was my goal. I achieved that as a junior, becoming world champion and becoming the youth world champion. You know, it was very competitive. So being on Dancing with the Stars, it was interesting. It was really competitive.
Yeah.
We just came from this ballroom world, and we didn't realize that we were on TV. We didn't realize that this was entertainment. I'm here to serve my partner. I'm here to help them in this journey, and
was a mind shift.
Complete mind shift, but it took a second because we were so conditioned to like win and be the best.
Was it difficult for you to all of a sudden have 20, 30 million people watching you and you become a star overnight?
Dancing with the Stars was just such a huge phenomenon. Like, nobody really expected it to be as successful as it was. It was 22 million people watching twice a week, Mondays and Tuesdays, 2 seasons a year. Like, that's insanity. And luckily, that's created opportunities.
Live touring dance shows, High School Musical, you did Hairspray Live.
What gets a gal passed out at lunch? Is it brains? Is it dough? No, it's hairspray.
You did your big show, World of Dance with Jennifer Lopez. It's been really expansive, beyond your wildest dreams.
It's been extraordinary. It exploded, and it really opened up a door for these live touring dance shows. It felt like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, wow, all those years are paying off. This is awesome, you know?
So you're making money, you got all this fame, you're on social media. I mean, how did you process that?
Yeah, it was a mixture of dancing, train wreck, like, it was like
What was your
drama.
biggest train wreck?
Oh man, I've had a few, for sure. Just, honestly, just for me, like, looking back on some of the earlier seasons when I just didn't know what I was doing, really, and I was just fearful and scared.
You know, some of the most talented people I've ever interviewed have something in common. They always, despite massive success and incredible, extraordinary talent, they somehow feel like they're imposters.
For sure.
And I've heard you talk about that.
Sure.
Do you really still, at this point in your career, in your young life, with all this success, still feel that sense of, you don't know who I really am?
Sure. Oh my gosh. It took me a long time to really understand, no, I have good instincts and I am creating something, you know, I am a choreographer. But definitely, many times where I'm like, they're gonna figure it out. You know, I'm actually not that great. Being on Dance with the Stars, that taught me how to release that perfectionism and realize that perfectionism doesn't really exist, you know. It's the lowest standard you can have, actually.
You're a searcher, aren't you?
For me, it doesn't matter if you're in the best physical shape of your life, but if you go home and your head's a mess, you're not a healthy person. That's what honestly happened to me. I went home and I remember like looking at these trophies and I was looking at all these achievements and I was really depressed. I was like, wow, that doesn't mean anything. I'm really sad. I'm really lonely. I'm really like, I feel miserable.
Living outside for all that validation and attention, but when you came home, there was nothing there?
Because you're seeking external validation constantly, and then maybe you get it for a second, but it's gone in an instant. When you're essentially left with your own thoughts, with yourself, you're kind of like, it's a scary place, especially when like your whole goal has been, like, I want to become the world champion. I want to be this, and then you achieve it, and you're like,
now what?
That's it? Oh, dang. What do I do? And that's a scary place to be. So it was sort of a crash course to really understand how I can like really understand what's going to fulfill me versus just being successful.
You wrote an autobiography of sorts called Taking the Lead, Lessons from Life in Motion. You wrote this incredibly personal memoir about your life. Why did you feel so compelled to write about being bullied as a kid?
It was really therapeutic. I was like, oh my gosh, wow. And it actually made me very grateful.
It was cathartic.
Very cathartic, but just also I got this overwhelming sense of gratitude of like, wow, I've come a long way. Like, I don't really give myself enough credit really to you know, or pat myself on the back and be like, wow, man, you've done a lot of things. Like, good job. Like, because for me, it's always like, it's never enough. I gotta keep going, you know. And so it was a beautiful experience to write that book. And for me, there are lessons in my life in each one of those chapters that really helped me understand something about myself, overcome something, and ultimately become the person I strive to be. You know, because I never claimed to be that man. I'm always striving to be that man, you know.
Let's take our viewers back. You grew up in Utah, a very conservative Mormon family, 4 sisters. This is the period of life when you write about it extensively. As young as 6 and 7,
Yeah.
You were bullied severely, a gun to your head, hog-tied and hung upside down, left in a field for hours. Really?
Yeah. It was wild. I remember telling the story to somebody and they were like, hold on, stop there. It's okay to feel angry about that on behalf of that little boy, you know, because for me, I always looked at anger as sort of like a weak emotion. And if you get angry, then it's like you lost control. But and anger was always like an emotion I would always suppress. And reflecting back on that little boy who went through all that, you know, myself, it was really, I was able to sort of like feel that for him, you know, and it was pretty terrible.
For that 6-year-old, 7-year-old boy that had a gun to his head.
Yeah, I had terrible night terrors. Like I would scream almost every single night. But I just thought I was just a scared kid. And I really was. I was a really scared kid.
Did anybody intervene to protect you or figure out why?
Oh, they didn't. My parents didn't know. Nobody knew.
You didn't tell anybody?
But yeah, I just could not sleep over at somebody's house as a kid because I was just so scared.
I mean, how did you process that at the time?
You know, I think that somebody who has a lot of pain in their heart, a lot of pain going on inside them or seeking something, it's usually those who, you know, need to inflict, you know, power over others is weakness in disguise. That's basically to sum it up. And so for me, I have compassion for them now because at the end of the day, you know, we're not born, you know, to do bad things, you know, and I think it's like those are sort of top behaviors and environments and created. And, you know, even the people who've wronged me and done things to me, I want to know, where did that come from? Why did they do that? And how can I forgive and have compassion and move on, you know, and let go.
So here you're going through this bullying situation and your mom took you to your sister's dance classes and that was it. And you got so good, they said, we're going to ship you off to one of the best schools in London with your sister, Julianne Hough, who we know because of Dancing with the Stars. Your mom let her go at 9 and you at 12?
I know, it's crazy. When people say that, they say like, how could they do that? I'm like, well, how could they not? Like, what? Thank you. Like, what beautiful parents to be able to like trust in us as kids and believe in us that like we knew what we were doing to allow that, you know? And it was tough. Oh my God, my mom, hearing her now, I was like, she's telling stories about she'd wake up in the morning crying because she's missing us. And I was like, I didn't even know that, you know? And as an adult, I'm like heartbroken, like, ugh.
Dancing with Julianne and have your lives so under the spotlight when there's ups and downs. Were you there for each other?
Absolutely. Yeah, Julianne and I, we have a very special connection because we're not like sort of like a typical brother, you know, sister, sibling duo situation because we moved to England when we were kids, looking after each other. Our careers have been parallel. She was on Dancing with the Stars first, and then I was on Dancing with the Stars, and then like musical theater and touring, movies, like all these different things. We've just kind of like always been parallel in whatever we've done, and we're able to help each other through that. Just to sort of always be there to remind each other that who we are, and just to let go of the noise, you know.
And how was it when she beat you at Dancing with the Stars and Mark Ballas?
That was a wake-up call, honestly, because she never beat me, and then the first season she beat me, and I was like, this is interesting. And even to this day, she just never lets it down.
Of course.
She loves that. I'm like, well, you only won twice. And I was like, I won 6 times. She goes, yeah, but I was only on there for like 5 seasons. So 2 out of 5, and yours like 6 out of 17. So do the math. I have a better percentage. And I was like, oh, you got me there, okay.
It is a brother-sister relationship,
yeah.
for sure. So when you came to Dancing with the Stars and you become this kind of celebrity dancer, and your career's, you know, taken off, and all the social media is like, who is he dating? Like, and all this like major spotlight focus on.
I was dating everybody at some point. Jeez Louise.
I'm telling you, I was like, how did you find the time?
Oh my gosh.
But then this beautiful young woman that I see on Instagram with you guys dancing through the pandemic, so beautiful, you and Haley, 6 years together now.
Yeah.
And you can dance
and
together.
And it's real. And we can dance together.
Yeah.
She's a beautiful human being, and our relationship now is wonderful because I love it. You know, it's a beautiful relationship.
In the past, you said you just struggled with feeling enough. Do you feel like you're at a point in your life where you finally feel enough?
Yeah, I think that for a while, that was always kind of the fuel, was not feeling like you're enough. So you always were seeking, like, oh, I gotta do things to feel good enough. And then you never really achieve that, so you're just kind of chasing your tail. But when you do realize that You already are. You always have been, and you always will be, no matter what.
Whether you win a mirror ball or
Doesn't matter. It's a really profound place to be, because it's sort of an endless tank of fuel that inspires you to continue to create, and then more importantly, to serve others. You know, not just yourself, because that was also the thing too, being a competitive dancer. It was about, I want to be the best. I need to be achieved. I need to be successful. It's about you, me. And then, but that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable fuel. The sustainable fuel is how can I serve this person? How can I elevate this person? How can I make this crowd feel something? How can I that fuel is endless.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest information, balanced coverage, weather updates every 10 minutes, and more. We'll see you then.